And joining us now, before we get to your calls, is Congressman Mike McCaul from the great state of Texas. He's chairman of the Committee on Homeland Security. And he has a lot of questions still as to what's happened post-Benghazi, including why the State Department is not offering, as part of its rewards program, a significant reward for the information leading to the capture of those suspects responsible for the killing of these Americans. And he joins us now. Congressman, excuse my voice. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
Congressman, I'm sure you watched the 60 Minutes report.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's all so needless. But for the purposes of this State Department issue, then we'll get into the broader question. Why do you think that reward is not being offered where other rewards have been in place for years for suspects who are on the loose for a variety of terrorist involvements?
Well, I don't think it's a priority of this administration. I don't think they have any interest in tracking down these terrorists that killed our ambassador. It's very disturbing. And I thought the 60 Minutes piece was very compelling, powerful, and disturbing as well. Basically what this program is it's their most wanted list within the State Department. And why wouldn't the terrorists that killed our U.S. ambassador be on that most wanted list? This program has brought people like Ramzi Youssef, the 93 World Trade Center bomber, who conspired with his uncle Khalid Sheikh Mohammed for 9/11, brought him to justice. They brought Saddam Hussein's brothers to justice. It's worked in multiple cases. It's thwarted multiple terrorist plots. And yet this is probably one of the most significant, high-profile foreign policy fiascos of this administration. And yet these individuals, and we know there are 13 sealed indictments out there on them, so we know who the individuals are, and yet they're not on the most wanted list. And, it's interesting that a CNN reporter was able to talk to the leader of this group in a coffee shop in Libya, and yet we can't hunt them down and bring them to justice.
Well, this is what the president, to remind all of our listeners, this is what the president said in the Rose Garden on September 12th, 2012.
We will not waver in our commitment to see that justice is done for this terrible act, and make no mistake, justice will be done.
Congressman, a simple question. Do you think justice will be done here?
I'm skeptical. He is wavering. I don't understand why they're not pursuing this. And, the biggest takeaway I got from the 60 Minutes piece was when the Green Beret, the one you played on your show, was talking about when he got to Benghazi that the black flags of Al-Qaeda were flying everywhere. And they warned the State Department and the White House multiple times with 4 different cables. And the most recent, 2 weeks before 9/11, emergency cable from the ambassador himself requesting additional security, warning that there were these Al-Qaeda groups all around the compound. And yet when everything goes down on 9/11, the immediate response is they blame it on this video out of Florida. I don't understand this narrative that we can't use the word Al-Qaeda. We can't talk about terrorism. We're going to say that it was not an act of terrorism on 9/11. And we're going to call, for instance, Fort Hood workplace violence. It's a disturbing narrative that we're seeing over and over again, when the fact is, whether it's Libya or all of northern Africa, Al-Qaeda is spreading like a wildfire right now. And with that comes a threat to the homeland. And that's one of my biggest concerns. We've got to bring these guys to justice for the victims here and their families. You got a Navy SEAL, 2 Foreign Service officers, and an ambassador killed. And we have to bring these guys to justice.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. Congressman Mike McCaul is not stopping in the pursuit of, the truth. And, of course, justice. Because if people realize that they can kill Americans with impunity, and they see that this doesn't seem to be a priority for any administration, the Obama administration or any administration, that does send a terrible signal to those who want to do us harm, both abroad and at home. And Congressman, as chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, you are obviously involved in this push for immigration reform and the conversations about it. And I know a lot of my friends in Houston and Dallas and Austin, Fort Worth, have strong feelings about what this administration and its motivations are on the issue of immigration. And as we've seen with Benghazi, as we've seen with health care reform, what they say and what they do are two different things. That is the big concern for any decision to go to conference on immigration, because of frankly the bad faith that has been seen by the administration on border enforcement and end run around various laws and so forth. Should the Republicans in the House go to conference on the issue of immigration this year?
No, the answer is no. I talked to Speaker Boehner directly about this. I have a border security bill. I've been trying to get that border secure for the entire time I've been up here, for 10 years. And as chairman, I want to get this thing finally done. That's what my constituents want. But I am not going to go down the road of conferencing with the Senate CIR bill. And I told Boehner that he needs to stand up and make that very clear, that we are not going to conference with the Senate on this. We're not going to conference with the Senate, period. Laura, I was invited to the White House yesterday, and I refused to meet with the president because I saw it as a political trap. I am not pushing for immigration reform. I've been against amnesty my entire career. I'm simply interested in getting the security piece done, and we have to do that first and foremost. We can talk about these other things later, but I think the most imperative thing is to get it under operational control. I can get this done, and if I have to do it without a bill getting passed, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep pushing this administration and the department as hard as I can to get it done. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I do want to make it very clear. I do not support any conference with the Senate.
What do you think of Ileana Ross-Layton and the congressman from California, Central Valley? His name escapes me. Over the weekend, Denham.
Yeah, Denham.
Who both have come out saying absolutely must go forward with comprehensive immigration reform. That was announced before the big fly-in by all these big companies who have an interest, I think, in keeping wages low in the United States for the bottom line. And I get their point, but what do you say about those congresspeople who didn't?
Well, I think their districts way more heavily Hispanic, and I think they're playing to their districts. But I still go back to 1986 when we granted amnesty. There were all these promises made about security, and that was never done. And quite honestly, Lord, that's why we have the problem we do today of 15 million here illegally, is we never took care of that security piece. What I'm trying to accomplish through my legislation is to get that security piece finally done. And I think we have to do that first and foremost before we have any discussions about.
Well, that's not going to happen as long as Obama's president. I mean, it's been clear. We interviewed Chris Crane, and I know you know who he is, the head of the ICE union. They represent 7,500 ICE employees, and people were on the front lines and trying to enforce the immigration laws. He said they've basically been told to stand down. Deportations are moving at a trickle pace, and they're not really allowed to do their jobs now, that is just flouting the rule of law in a radical fashion. And people don't realize how serious this is. We have major cocaine rings in South Miami from Jamaican illegal immigrants who've been here for 20 years. We have gang violence leading to horrific crimes, child prostitution rings run by illegal alien criminals that were allowed to cross this border multiple times. And those stories just either don't get reported enough, or not enough of our Republican colleagues make the point.
Well, I took a delegation down there, and we saw the human trafficking, as you mentioned. I mean, just literally children, dying in the desert. We were on the Rio Grande River, saw a dead body floating in the middle of the day, and my colleague from New Jersey said, "Wow, it's kind of like a war zone down here." And I said, "It is, and that's why I wanted to take you down here." And so I think, a lot of people that are not from border states don't really understand the gravity of it, and that's being from a border state is why I want to get the security piece done. And I'm going to push as hard as I can as chairman to get it done, whether we get a bill passed or not. We have to get this thing done.
Do you think
someone's got to be a champion and a voice for that?
Right.
And that's who I am.
Do you think, Congressman McCaul, that today terrorists are crossing our border, our southern border, or our northern border, for that matter?
I think it's vulnerable. So I always say this is not just an immigration issue; it's a national security issue. We do pick up what they call, other than Mexicans, what they call special interest aliens.
OTMs.
Yeah, OTMs, but SIAs are special interest aliens from countries of interest, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran. And when we get those, pick up those people, that's when the flags really go up. Now, do we have a documented case right now? No. But is it vulnerable? Yes. Do we know they're trying to exploit it? Yes. There were some Pakistanis picked up a month ago that concerned me. And so that's, what I don't want to happen. To do nothing, Laura, is unacceptable. And my job is to get something done, because I don't want to be the guy under my watch, these people getting in and blowing up a major city, and have that under my watch. We need to stop that.
But we have the NSA tracking everyone all the time. I mean, we'll do that, right? But the obvious thing of stopping people before they come into the country, stopping these overstays and the visas, we're like, oh no, hands off. Those are dreamers. Those people are dreamers. Well,
bring them in. And as this reform debate continues, don't think that the flood of illegals is not increasing. Yeah, of course it is. And so, my job is there are a lot of threats out there, and whether it's Northern Africa or Syria or wherever, Egypt. I want to keep those threats outside the United States, and I can't do that with an open border. I cannot do that.
Congressman, a number of Republicans have said to me, and I know you've got to go, so this just really briefly, that the Homeland Security apparatus itself, the Homeland Security Department, really should be disbanded. It was an ill-conceived idea, is a bureaucracy that frankly cannot be controlled and properly supervised, even from a congressional level. What do you think about the Homeland Security Department and apparatus?
Well, I mean, yeah, I understand that. I think, blowing it up would create a lot of dysfunction. It's already fairly dysfunctional, but I think it would be even more dysfunctional and cause some serious problems with our national security if we did that. It's something, obviously, I'm looking at. Yeah. The entities that I'm focused on within when you look at DHS, some people don't realize it's Secret Service, it's Customs Border Patrol, it's Coast Guard. And the entities I've been working with on the border to try to get this done, and I go around the administration to do it, is Customs Border Patrol, Coast Guard, the National Guard down there, the border sheriffs, and I deal with the ranchers a lot. And they are the stakeholders that can tell me the best way to get this thing done. From that, I'm going to develop a national strategy and a plan to get this border secure.
All right. Congressman, we really appreciate your joining us. Michael McCaul from Texas, thank you so much. No conference. You heard it from him. No conference on immigration. We'll take a break. Don't go away.